running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, April 15th, 2024? Episode 84 coming at you. Partner in crime over there, Dave Hyatt. What's up, brother?
Just want to give a shout out to two of our previous guests, Brian Prendergast and Wilfredo Rivera, for completing the Boston Marathon today in horrible conditions. It was very hot. It was very windy. People were dropping like flies, and they will tell you that they didn't run what they wanted to, but in those conditions, just to finish it, hell of a job, guys.
I don't know if I could watch a marathon without dropping right now. Like, I'm that out of shape that if I tried to watch somebody run 26 live, I would just collapse for them. And also, I'm giving a shout out to, on that note, Megan Blue, another former guest. She did her 7th marathon.
Nice.
So, shout out to Blue. Shout out to Wilfredo, Brian, all
Shout out to everyone who ran it.
Yes.
I mean, just to finish a marathon is an unbelievable feat. And I also want to give a shout out to my daughter. Her first ever track meet was today.
Yeah.
She ran the 400 and the 800. And I'm super proud of her. Those are two hard events to run, and she did a great job. So love you, Lily.
And now that means we'll be getting some PRs, because now once you get the first, then the PRs start to come. So we're pumped about that, and we will happily give shout outs to your daughter. And, I'll do them just so we won't be, nepotism and anything here. I'll make sure I do it. But anyway, before we jump into fun stuff, if you are watching on YouTube, hi, hello, give us a subscription there. If you're watching on X, once again, hi, hello, give us a follow. We are on a new quest, Hyatt. We are currently sitting at 19 subs on YouTube, and that's just not enough. It isn't. I don't like that number. It's not a good round number, and there's not enough people watching us trying to get the sport bigger, athletes. So our goal, 50 subs. We're looking for 50. So if you're watching this right now on YouTube, spread the word, subscribe yourself, get more people to subscribe, 50 subs. And over on Twitter/X, Twix, as I like to call it, we're trying to get to 1,500 over there. We're currently sitting at 1,022. Let's get to 1,500 because we need more people. I don't care about looking at our ugly mugs. I don't care about listening to what we have to say, but I want people to hear our guests. I want people to really understand their stories and to make this sport bigger for the casual fan, because the series that we've been doing, which we are continuing today, is all for that purpose, to make sure that we get these pro athletes paid, that we get more recognition at the higher level, at the high school level, at the collegiate level. So let's do it. Go follow us everywhere at Talking in Ovals. You can find us on all social medias. Just go search that. So before we jump into this week's show, last week's show, we had lots of fun.
We
had Elena Bruckner on. She is pro shot put and discus thrower, another Olympic hopeful. And God, what a bubbly, just happy, joyous person. So much fun just to talk to her and just to see, her perspective, and another athlete working her tail off, having a full-time job in order to continue to train. That is not a condition that any pro athlete should go into. So shout out to Elena. Go back, give that last episode a watch. Go over on YouTube. It is there under the live tab. If you're looking at our YouTube and you can't find it, have to go to the live tab. That's where all of our live streams are loaded. But this week, we're ready to have some fun. We are continuing with our Trackstar.me Olympic Dreams series, and we are pumped to have our first ever active multi-event pro athlete on. She is Hope Bender. Hope, what's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we are pumped to have you on. And like we said, you are our first ever active multi. We've had, former guest Jordan Torney was a multi-athlete. If I'm not mistaken, was Vicky a former athlete? Huber Radowski?
I don't think so.
One of our ladies, I forget if I apologize. We had one fantastic lady that was a former multi-athlete, but we have a current one on now. Hope, we are excited to talk to you. And once again, we are continuing with the Trackstar.me Olympic Dream Series, and you are an individual that is participating in that crowdfund. I am going to go ahead right away up down the top for everyone that is watching. Please go right here. Boom. The www.givesendgo.com/GBKDF to go and support amazing athletes like Hope and a bunch of.
So they don't have to have jobs. So they can actually train and work.
Yes. So go on there and you will enjoy helping out athletes to make sure that they can train, even though they should be getting paid like pros. Now, we want to get to know you better, Hope. We want to hear a little bit about you. The same question that we ask all of our wonderful guests. When did you get to spark to become a multi-event athlete and really start torturing yourself? Because God, the multis are, I consider for both the men and the women, the two best athletes of their sexes in the world. Like, bar none, you're asked to do multiple events, to do everything well, to jump, to throw, to run, to long distance. Short, you are the most explosive and best athlete around. And you are in the echelon of being one of the greatest athletes on the planet.
Yep.
What made you want to go on this quest? What was that spark?
Well, I appreciate that because most of the time I just feel like I'm fumbling around in the dark. So I do appreciate that. I came to track late. It wasn't until probably midway through high school that I even started being interested in track in general. And when I did, I think specifically the words out of my mouth were, I'm not doing anything longer than 100 meters.
That is so typical. So
that
many
is not much
new
then.
athletes like that come on. It's like, I don't want to run anything further than that strip.
Right.
No,
I will throw, I will jump, but I'm not running more than 100 meters.
I'm going point A to point B, and that's the end of it. And that held for, I don't know, a few weeks until we rolled around to our little league final. Ended up on the 4x4. I was like, just this once. I finished, and they're like, well, congratulations, you're a 400 runner. And
that's how it starts, right? That's how it starts. It's like, you sit there and what?
So like, well, you can run a 4, so you can run an 8.
So what
yeah,
year was
right.
That you started? What year?
So that was, gosh, I don't remember if it was my freshman or sophomore year of high school
because you're probably sitting there going in and running a 65, and they're just like, okay, there it is, like 65 and under. We have a 400-meter runner.
I think that's exactly what happened. And so then I ended up with a kind of private coach who was going to help me improve that. And then I ran into a girl at a track meet who was throwing shot put and not any bigger than I am. I'm like, what are you doing over here? She's like, oh, well, I do the heptathlon. What is that? And I think this was my junior year of high school. And she's like, oh, it's all these different things. And I was like, huh. I think I could be pretty good at all of those things. I don't know if I'm great at anything, but I think I could be pretty good there. And so then my coach that I had at the time said, well, if you want to do the heptathlon, you got to learn how to hurdle. Yeah. And so he spent kind of my senior year teaching me how to hurdle. And then with the intention of going to college and trying to really get a feel for the multi when I got there. So I hadn't done everything by the time I got to college, but I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Now, were you during the whole recruiting process, were you letting them know that you wanted to do multis, or were they recruiting you just based upon what you had already done?
Yeah, I had a little bit of an unconventional recruiting process because I wasn't that good at track yet at this point. And so my dad and I'd started learning how to hurdle, and I was like, Santa Barbara seems like a cool school. I know they have some multis up there. And so we just got in the car and drove up there. I think it was a Tuesday in October. We're like, let's go. And so we just drove up there and walked out to their practice. And I said, hi, my name's Hope, and I want to do the multi. And that just we started emailing. Awesome. I sent him some videos, and he was like, yeah, there could be something here. And so at that point, I didn't even have a sub 60-second 400 to my name. Wow. But he liked what my coach liked what he saw on film. And then my senior year, I really kind of came out in the hurdles and all of that and started to get recruited a little bit. But I was like, nope, sorry. I'm going to Santa Barbara and I'm doing the heptathlon.
I just love how you advocate for yourself. I mean, I think more athletes should do that, because you never know unless you take a shot. And you went and you took a shot and it all worked out. But had you not done that, who knows if you'd even be where you are now?
Absolutely. I doubt I would be. I think track is it's a sport where there's so many people, especially in high school, so many people, and times look so similar. Yeah. You have to differentiate yourself in some way. You have to speak up for yourself, because unless you're the best of the best in high school, coaches aren't pulling your name out of a list and sending you an email, So,
and this is the type of amazing thing that I think we need to take more advantage of in track, right? And I think we find this story of I came in late. I wasn't that great. And now all of a sudden, I have a legitimate chance to compete at the Olympics. Like and that's a pretty short time period, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
it was that long ago that you started to
Mhm.
now. And I think it's such a rarity that you find yes, you find late bloomers in all sports. But in terms of track, and especially with your multis, right? Because like you guys are kind of jack of all trades, masters at none. Like you have your specialties and things that you're really good for. Like you are a fantastic hurdler right now. Like your times are really good. You
Yeah.
can jump really well. So it's like you have things that you excel at. But at the same time, it's like I find a lot of your high level hep athletes, decathletes are at the brink of elite at almost everything, right? But you're
Yeah.
so well rounded that you can do so many good things. And just for you, like you're a person as a pro that we should be bringing around to high schools around the country and be talking to like people and like have like meetings with non-athletes that maybe want to be athletes but don't know. And you can walk in and be like, hey, I started late. I
Mhm.
wasn't very good in terms of standards of like greatness, right? And I advocated for
Yeah.
myself. I believed in myself. And now I'm one of the best in the country and vying to be one of the best in the world. Like
Mhm.
that's something that this sport offers that so many other sports don't.
Mhm. And track just respects work ethic.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a lot of other sports. There's such a high, I mean, there's just such a high level of skill and almost kind of natural talent that track you run hard, you're going to get faster.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. You go to the weight room, you get stronger. You run a lot, you get faster. And obviously, I mean, people have their capacities and they're working within a bandwidth, but
100%.
I think that is what track has that's so special is there's something for everyone in
Hmm.
it, whatever level you find yourself. And then you have the capacity to grow. So
It's so good, and I
Yeah.
love that, your spark was this one girl told me about it, and that sounds awesome. Like, that is such a unique spark that we've
Yeah.
never had, like,
That
"I
is
just
cool.
think I could be good at that," and now here we are.
I could do that.
Years
Yeah.
later, like, you were really good at what you thought you could.
Yeah.
So, give me some of your favorite memories starting, back when you first started doing track in general, right? Into
mhm.
what you have now at this point in your career. What have some of your favorite memories been?
Oh gosh, it's
And you can take your time. We got time here. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh man, there's so many. I mean, I guess just going back, I think there've been a few kind of defining moments maybe throughout my athletic career.
Yeah.
I think one of them, back in high school, I think one of them was probably, you know, figuring out the hurdles. I broke a bunch of school records, some county records. I made the state final. So I think that was maybe our first clue that there was something more there that than just this is a fun little pastime.
Right.
Um, but I think that really kind of lit a spark for me. And then, gosh, my sophomore year, this probably will stand out as one of the most important days of my whole life. My sophomore year, I had a terrible season. I had a really good freshman year, and then just a hard sophomore year. I fouled out in 3 of the 4
Mm.
heptathlons that I started that year.
Wow.
Um, all the way up to no hiding at conference in the high jump. And the Big West is different in that we do our multi the week before all
Ah.
of the open events. So it's Friday, Saturday. The first week is the multi, and then Friday, Saturday, the next week is all of the individual events. And so I'd fouled out, and I think in that week between, went to my coach's office. I think I sat down and was very dramatically like, I'm having an identity crisis. He's like, you're fine. And I'm like, okay. And then I went to conference the next week, and I ended up finishing second in the 100 hurdles, and I won my first conference championship in the 400 hurdles. And just that moment, I think I learned so much there about resilience and just that, you know, that next in track, you have to always believe that that next breakthrough is right around the corner.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
Right? You can't, no matter how long you've been in a rut, like that, my lifting and throws coach in high school, Coach Shirley, used to say to us, like, every time you step in the ring, you have to tell yourself that it's going to be the best throw of your life. And whether or not it is or it isn't, like, the next time you step in the ring, it's going to be the best throw of your life. And I think I've just carried that with me throughout track. But that day was such a defining kind of moment for me there. My junior year in college, I had a new coach come in. My old coach left and was nervous about it. And then we went up to UW for their UW invite, and he had entered me in the pentathlon. And it was actually the first multi-event I ever won.
Nice.
But he said to me after, he's like, I think I scored 38.84, which is good. It's nothing crazy, but it's good. And he was like, I think you can make nationals. Like, I want to give you another chance. And he took me to U.S. Indoor Championships in Albuquerque, just us and my athletic trainer in 2018. And I ended up scoring 41.49. I think I had PRs I had like an 8-centimeter PR in the high jump, 30-centimeter PR in the long jump. Nice. 30-centimeter PR in shot put, and qualified for my first NCAA championships. And
so you must have been on cloud 9 that day. Like, nothing was going wrong those 2 days. Like, that was like nothing went wrong at all. Like, everything.
Well, it was just one day. It was just because it was
that's
indoors.
It was
day.
Hence 1 day.
Yeah,
hence 1 day. Yeah,
it was literally just one after another, and so that, I think that was the moment I went from being, I'm good at the conference level, I'm good for my school, to, oh, I have a shot at the national level. And again, it was kind of that mindset shift. I feel like my career is defined by little mindset shifts of I was here, and now I either am here or believe that I can get there, you know? So
that's important. The belief is so important.
And it's an interesting thing because for a hot second, I coached at my alma mater, Marist. My head coach was nice enough to withstand me for 4 more years. And, but I would tell all the, I was coaching the sprinters and some of the middle distance guys. And, Marist, we have good runners, right? We have some really talented athletes. But I said to them all, if you're not here in training to become a national champion, then what are you doing at the Division I level, right? Like at any level in college, like even if it's unrealistic, even if you're a 49-second guy, you're not running 44 at net and going to Nats. Well, man, you should be training to get to 44.
Yeah.
You should be training to get to Nats. Like that should be your level. So, and I feel like that's the mentality that all collegiate athletes should take, right? Once you step in, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, I don't care where it is, your goal should be to win nationals as a D1 athlete. And I think that that's cool that you're getting like those aha moments in these big times. And, and that's different too, because a lot of people will take their conference championships and be like, cool, I'm a conference champ.
Yeah.
You was like, conquered that beast, get to the next one. And that's like kind of a great mentality to have.
Yeah.
And I like how you did it at U.S. Indoor Nationals.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No,
not some small meet. We're going to go to Albuquerque and we're going to run nationals, and then you're going to PR in 4 events.
Yep, it was incredible. It was cool. It was really great. That was super special. But then I feel like, it also, I totally agree with you on the mindset, but I think sometimes it's underrated how difficult those mindset shifts are, right? Like I recently, I feel like it was a couple of months ago now, I texted one of my coaches, and we were talking, and I just had a great workout or something had gone really well. And I was like, like for the first time, I think I actually believe I have a shot at making the Olympic team. Awesome. Before that, it was like, like we'll go to Olympic trials and see what happens. Or like, just happy to be there. Like, but I was like, no, like not that it's guaranteed to happen because it never is, but I believe that I am capable of putting together the kind of meet that's required to get me there.
And that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. like you can't do it without that, but you also can't force it and you can't fake it. So to have that moment, I think was really pivotal. And then, you know, we get that 6,000 point barrier out of the way weeks later and all of that. So,
and, you know, and I know that we've talked to some like incredible runners, like, you know, we talked to Julie Cully, former 5K national champion, and, you know, Clayton Murphy and things like that. And the one thing that a lot of them will talk about is every once in a while, the imposter syndrome, right? Like you get up there and, you know, for your case, you're going to toe the line with Anna Hall. You're going to have Sherry Hawkins there. You're going to have some, you know, Olympians and world athletes and, you know, world champions. And you need to toe the line and, you know, get in the same circle and be like, no, I'm going to beat you guys. Like that to me, like it's got to be one of the funnest parts as a competitor, but also at times, like you said, it's the mindset, right? Like you can't fake that mindset when you go in there and you look at these girls and you shake their hands as like, I'm your equal. I'm going to kick your ass. Like, thanks for coming, but you know, you can join me in the Olympic team. I'm going to be there. Like that type of mindset has to be there. And it's so like, I love the fact that it's switched, and I can't wait to, because you seem like the type of person, and all the people that I have to say, all of the people that we've had in this on the Olympic Dream Series have all been people that have unlimited potential still, and have that grind, have that mentality of no, I'm at the level, I'm getting there. Like there's nothing stopping me at this point. So that's just super cool.
I want to talk about the training, like what goes into training for a heptathlon, and you know, like are there certain days we have to work on certain things? Can you work on certain disciplines on the same day, or does everything have to be super structured, super rigid, and go exactly as it's planned?
And really quick, before we get into that, for anyone that doesn't know, tell everyone what a heptathlon is. Because we're throwing out these things, and people are like thanking you for being this great multi-event athlete, and people are like, what does she do? She runs the 1, the 2, like what goes on?
The hurdles,
kind of how does that break up day to day there?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we maybe should have led with that.
Awesome.
So the heptathlon, it's a 2-day competition. Indoors is the pentathlon, which we've referenced a couple of times. That's just 1 day. But outdoors, it's the heptathlon. So 2 days. First day is the 100-meter hurdles, followed by high jump, shot put, and the 200. You come back the second day, long jump, javelin, and the 800. So it's always those events. It's always in that order. It's always 2 consecutive days.
And for people who don't know, like pentathlon, pent means 5, het means 7, decathlon, deca means 10. So it's not that hard to figure out that there's a number of events if you know, but that's why it's called that, guys, because
we just gave the education there. Now back to Dave's great question, but I just figured we wanted to lead in with that before we talk about all this training. Like, let's refocus on what you're training for there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say a typical week training as a multi-event athlete, the goal is for us is usually to hit every event at least once. In, you know, any given 5-day training week, sometimes 6, we try to keep it to 5, but the goal is to hit every event at least once. So typically, Mondays are a lot of times, some long jump, but typically some block work and then a lift. Tuesdays are usually hurdles, high jump. A lot of times I'll also lift on Tuesdays. Wednesday, I think this week we'll throw and then do more of an 800 base workout on Wednesday. Thursday we'll come back and throw and long jump, maybe hurdle again. And then Friday is more of a 200, 800, or 400 speed endurance type workout. We might be throwing again as well.
So what's crazy to me is, like you mentioned that you lift, right? I mean, it's easy to lift when you're lifting for one event because your body has to be a certain way, but you are lifting for 7 different events, which probably take up different muscles. You're using different, like you're training for the 100 hurdles, but you also have to be in good enough shape for the 800. So like, how does that work when you're lifting and trying to incorporate all these different events? You know, like does your body ever feel like it's confused? Like, what am I doing? Like what am I training for?
Well, I think I'm just always confused pretty much at all times. Thankfully, I have the most brilliant strength coach, I think, in the entire world. His name is Eric Schmidt. He was my strength coach in college. He's now with the Memphis Grizzlies, but he's been so kind to continue to write my programs for me this year. And he's just an absolute wizard with the way that he thinks about things and writes programs. But it is challenging, right? Because without anything, there are going to be trade-offs. You know, you can't be perfect everywhere. You know, if we feel like we need more upper body work, we might get a little less lower body work, you know, whatever it is. And so I think we try to balance just some key principles. Like mostly we really simple is better. So we just kind of try to keep it with the basics. I think we've really keyed in on things that are important, like range of motion, becoming strong and ranges of positions, things like that, how much rotational work I need. And then he's wonderful in just understanding the events really well and kind of trying to replicate positions that are important as for all of the events. But then we're always, you know, we're balancing or finding kind of that strength to weight ratio balance, right? Because it is, you know, it's obviously sensitive to talk about weight in athletes and things like that, but it is important because at a certain point, I put on more muscle than is really useful in my event, and the amount of strength gain that I get from carrying that increased mass isn't enough to justify it. Right. So that's kind of a, you know, I think we've over years figured out what those numbers look like. But sometimes it's picking your battles and knowing, okay, we maybe can't do this thing, or we don't need to continue to push this to this next level. And, you know, what's good enough is good enough. So.
And I feel like when it comes to the weight thing, that's not necessarily, I feel like where we fall into issues with the athletes and weight is when we try to pinpoint a perfect weight for all athletes at one event, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a personal thing between you and your coach, and you know what your good sitting weight is, and you know your functional muscle weight. And like you said, like if you're gaining here, but it's being a detriment there, then you're going to have to figure out where that mass is. And I think it's less of a conversation in weight, because you should, like, you know, especially track athletes, there is a peak weight, a peak fitness level for all of us. And it should be something that's not necessarily generic, like, nope, you're too big, get smaller. It's like, no, maybe that is their functional size. And maybe you want to tweak it as a coach to make it more attuned, but it's not just a one size fits all. And I think
everybody's different. Like every human body is different.
Better in terms of a sport is understanding that. Now, one of the questions I have, and always has, I don't know how you guys do it in the multis. How do you not just sit there and focus on either like, all right, I'm good at this, I really want to ramp this up, or no, I'm weak on this, I really need to focus hard here and get better. But like, how do you continue to get better at your strengths while not sacrificing in one or the other? Continue to improve your weaknesses without like sacrificing strengths, because you kind of want them both to go together, right? Like you want to stay at wherever they are and kind of just let them all rise together. Is that kind of a bugaboo for you when it's like, like when one gets better and the other, like, how do you balance that? Because that's a mental thing for me. Like that would drive me mentally crazy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a conversation that never ends, right? Because I think we're always trying to get better at our weaknesses, right? Like for me, my weaknesses have been my throws, particularly my javelin. It's the hardest event in the entire world for me.
Let's get you and Capers talking. We need you and Capers need to get talking there. He can help you out.
Oh my gosh. I have lost more sleep over that event than probably all the others combined. But at the same time, I think preserving what makes me is so important. In the last couple of years, this September, I moved out to Texas from Southern California. I lived there my whole life. I went to UCSB. I stayed there, trained there post-collegiately. then this off season or this summer, I made the decision to move out to Texas, change my coaching, all of that. And a big driver of that was I was no longer confident in the events that I felt like defined who I was as an athlete, namely my sprinting and my running, because that's just such a
you carry a 210 PR in the 800
right in the 8.
That's pocket. That's massive.
And you've run 213, I think, at the end of a competition, right?
That's
my 210 PR was from a heptathlon.
Yeah, I mean that's
massive as a back pocket at the end of competitions, knowing that okay, I'm down, but I have this. Like I'm gonna go get a bunch of points here.
So is it worth changing your whole body for an extra 8 inches in the shot when you can pick up all those points in the 8?
And
exactly,
like a mental thing, yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I think looking at points, right? Because for us, we think about everything's points. Yeah. And so, okay, if I go from running, my PR in the 100 hurdles is now 13:25, but I was consistently running 13:7s, and I went from my PR is 23:6, and I was consistently running 24 mid. All of those, I'm losing many more points there than I could ever hope to make up in the shot, because I'm constrained by I'm 5'6" on a good day. There's only so much I can do there. Now there's still growth to be had.
You're still going to work, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But preserving my strengths and making sure that I'm not sacrificing those, I think is what's finally brought me back around to now not only like getting back to where I was in college, but pushing beyond that. So I don't know if that totally answers the question.
No, it definitely does. Yeah. I have another question that's always hard.
Don't sacrifice what you're already, what your strengths are to improve on your weaknesses some, when you could probably make your strengths even more powerful.
I have another question. Are the values for like the point values for your threshold, is that change year to year? And is that something you guys are updated to, or is that pretty concrete? You do X, it's this amount of points, or is that change on you guys every so often?
That the point values don't change.
That's a blessing.
Yeah. No, they never change. Like
just wait until track makes that easier too. Like the long jump. Like, hey, you went out and you tried to run an 800. Here's 1,000 points. Like,
yeah. No. So it never changes.
That's great.
So
it's based upon the world record, right?
I think so.
Like whatever time you run based upon. So I guess it could change if the world record changes. In that event?
So whenever they set the tables, it is what it is. So there's little calculators that you can you can pull out, and I've again spent more hours of my life that I'm willing to admit playing with those numbers.
And it's in meters too, so you have to know that as well.
Yes, everything is in meters.
American school system.
But yeah, so the point values, they never change, and they're not entirely linear. So like the faster you run, the more points you get for smaller increments of time. It's not crazy.
Well, because it gets more difficult the faster you get, right? Because like, we all know that, okay, you're sitting at 210. People look at it, go, oh, just run a 209. And it's like, yeah, you try running a 209. Like that is not easy. Like once you get to once you get sub 215, those increments start getting a lot less for 800. So it's like, and that's a reason why you get rewarded for getting better and better as you go. And that's, it's the ultimate merit system, right? Like the multis is the ultimate merit system. Like you said, run faster, you throw further, jump higher, jump further. You get it. So it's like, and that's why to me, you guys are the greatest athletes on the planet, better than basketball, baseball, football, soccer. I don't
have to be so diverse. Like, you have to be good in everything.
There isn't anybody more diverse and better. So with you, what do you prefer, like in terms of your training, right? Do you prefer to work harder on your strengths now? Is that a shift that you have come to like not go crazy trying to improve your weaknesses and get better at your strengths while working on, like, is your focus more on strengths and weaknesses now at this point?
I would say so. because again, back to just knowing who I am as an athlete, a conversation that I had with my strength coach this summer when we were starting to work together again, was I said, I feel like for me, the 200 is kind of the key to everything. I'd lost a lot of kind of my speed and my strength in that event, and then everything else was suffering. And I said, okay, for me, I think if we can get that 200 back, if we key in on that event and we get that back, everything else comes with it, because to run that event at my highest level, I have to be fast, I have to be fit, I have to be strong. All of those things have to line up. And that just lends itself everywhere else.
It makes sense. It really does, because if you're strong as a sprinter, you're going to have that lower body strength plus to go and do better throws. And it does make sense that is your base. And it's obviously you're a good runner, very good runner.
Yeah.
So it's like, it makes sense to focus there. So
I have a question for you.
Yep.
Can you tell the listeners out there, how much different is it to prepare for a 2-day heptathlon than a 1-day pentathlon? Or is it the same mind frame? Because one's 1 day, obviously, and one's 2. But you have 5 events, rather when you do the hep, the most you have in 1 day is 4.
It's definitely different. I would say but it's hard because it's also different, because I think in a lot of ways the hep feels more real, quote unquote, for lack of a better way to put that. Like the pent is more, it's super fun. It's a great time. It's something that you do 4 fun events and then you just run an 800 at the end of it. So like in that sense, it's a little bit different. It doesn't carry all of the same pressures of the heptathlon, right? But I think the difference is, and what people don't think about often, is that when I go home after day 1, I'm still actively competing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the middle of my competition. There's no, it's not even like, oh, a prelim and a final type situation. It's like, I am still in the middle of my competition. And so I think that just kind of frames everything a little bit differently, as far as, how seriously I take that time in between days, with recovery and sleep and nutrition and all of that. And because of that, I think too, there's a lot more lead up just to the heptathlon in general. Again, hydration, nutrition, how much we kind of have to back off at practice, different things like that.
Or what you eat the night in between the days, like you compete, then you have
just a whole bunch of Skittles and candy, right?
A whole bunch of Skittles,
candy, Twizzlers, just a whole entire candy cocktail.
Marshawn Lynch,
So here's another question. Go ahead, Dave. You got it.
So what you're saying is that the heptathlon's real and the pentathlon's fake.
Yeah, essentially.
The pentathlon's like the playground for the hep training. Like
it's
pentathlon's middle school, heptathlon is like high school and above. No,
it's
listen.
kind of preseason a little bit, like it's not meaningless, but it also doesn't define your season,
So do you wish that they would have a heptathlon indoors?
Sometimes actually, although I don't know what they would replace javelin,
because it's perfect conditions,
because obviously you can't
throw the pole vault in there.
Javelin instead of javelin, go do the weight throw.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So is there a balance to knowing how hard to go throughout the day in day 1 and day 2, or are you going all out every single event and just hoping that your endurance lasts? Because I felt like, for me looking at it, man, it will be hard to go 100%. Like, yes, the events are doing different things. You're working different muscles, but I'd imagine you'd want to leave something for that 800, or is it worry about that event as I get to it? Like, what is that mentality? Because I would strategize, but I don't know if that would make it smart, right?
To me, it's like hard to say, well, I'm just going to focus on this and then throw away points somewhere else.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
What is that strategy going into these meets?
So I would say that if there's any level of kind of, oh, I'm going to save here, it comes from the warm up, not the competition itself. So, when the gun goes off, when when I'm actively competing, it's 100% the whole time. Like there's no thought in my brain to the next event or the events that have already come. I say all the time, like when I change shoes, like I am that. Like when I have my sprint shoes on and I'm getting ready for hurdles, like I am a hurdler.
You got
I
the
change
Lightning McQueen.
shoes.
I am speed. I am
am
speed. Lightning McQueen.
exactly. But I change shoes. I put my high jump shoes on. I am a high jumper. Like there is no thought to the rest of it. But we do want to be conscious of, I think, the activity level in between events, right? So it's trying to stay off my feet as much as possible. Not doing unnecessary warm-ups. If it's like, ooh, should I take one more jump or should I not? It's like, let's probably not. So it's those little decisions that we make to try to help sustain throughout the competition. But when the gun goes off, that's it.
We gotta get all decathletes and heptathletes those little old people scooters. So in between events, they're not on their feet. They can just scoot to wherever they gotta go. Give a like multi-athlete lane,
like a broken leg scooter.
I mean, multis are the funniest people to watch at track meets because we move like an entire camp.
Like a herd.
Right? We've got I've got my roller suitcase, I've got my umbrella, I've got my camping chair, and
your shoes.
I'm bringing my entire like worldly possestions with me from event to event. So it's just like, it's silly little things like that.
Now we had on what was the name? Alex, the pole vaulter, wonderful guy.
Oh,
Matt
Ludwig.
Right?
Yeah.
Ludwig.
And he was saying how he could be such a pain in the ass to travel with a pole. What is like having to travel with everything that you have to bring? You got to bring
whole house,
all of your implements. Like what is that like?
I mean, the decathletes have it way worse, right? Because they do have to travel with poles.
Right.
And that's honestly, I don't think there's a bigger nightmare than traveling with poles. Because for me, the only thing I have to ever bring is a shot put and a javelin, which a lot of times, I mean, like if I'm traveling Southwest, they don't care. Javelin tubes are no problem.
That's what Matt said too. He said Southwest is the
Southwest is the best.
Good
Shout out Southwest. But otherwise, like I was just recently in California and I was gonna throw javelin, and UCSB was also at the meet, and I just texted. I was like, "Hey, can I borrow a jab? Because I really don't feel like traveling with them."
And a shot put too.
Yeah,
Papers just said he tells them that they're fishing poles half the time, so that they like get off his back because they're like about the same height, so they don't even check. He's like they're fishing poles if he doesn't want to deal with the hassle.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. I think the biggest stress of traveling is always when I have to check my shoes. That is the biggest stress, because I'm like, if this bag doesn't make it and I show up without any of my 12 pairs of shoes, I am going to be a very unhappy camper.
Right.
That's incredible. How many shoes, you don't think of that, right? That's not something that the average, even me, I was in track and field, right? For most of good part of my life.
We just put on spikes and ran a race.
Go on spikes, have my trainers, boom, boom, boom. Here I'm good. I don't think about how many different shoes you guys have to have. Spinning shoes for throwing. You have to have, sprinting shoes. You have to have some possibly distance shoes, because
high jump shoes,
the same shoes, high jump shoes. And it's like, you don't really think about that as any other athlete, but here you guys are like, so do you pick the brain of any of the like single event athletes about certain things to do in your multi? Like, would you go to like a shot putter and be like, hey, watch me do this here? What am I doing?
Oh, all the time.
So
all the time.
Do they know you at this point and they're like, Hope, go away, I'm trying to get ready? Like, or
they're like, I try to have some awareness of timing when I have these conversations. But absolutely, I mean, I think I've learned so much from individual eventers, and just having the opportunity to be around them and train around them. I think something that's really helped me kind of just grow as an athlete is not to view myself as a multi, but to really, like I said, when I'm high jumping, I am a high jumper. Yeah. And so I want to learn from, the best high jumpers. Now, I will say the one caveat to that, is something that I've found works really well for me is I try to watch athletes that look like me and are built like
Yeah.
me.
That makes sense.
You know, it doesn't really help me to watch a 6'4",
Right.
100-pound Latvian high jumper jump 2 meters,
Right.
because that's just so wildly different than me and my style. But like Jessica Ennis is a wonderful model for me
Yeah.
in how I do things, because she's built very similarly to me, but she is absolutely world class in just about everything that she ever did.
How do you approach, like, do you approach the athletes at meet sometimes like, "Hey, I'm Hope, I'm multi-person, you're awesome. Can you help me?" Like, like, can you kind of
I'm
like,
sure it's done at the practice level. I'm sure.
honestly,
Yeah.
like that would be me. I'd walk up at a meet and just be like, "Hey, can we exchange numbers? I really want to like talk to you later. Like, have a great meet. Bye."
Yeah.
Like,
You know, I'll strike up a conversation here or there, but a lot of the time it's
you're probably in the
I
zone too. You're at a
I
meet.
have
Yeah.
what I'm working on,
Yes, yes.
and so I'm trying not to,
Right.
get inundated with information,
Yeah.
especially when I'm competing. Like, it has to be so very simple.
And you also want to trust your coaches, right? Because your
Exactly,
coaches
and
are also there, and you don't want to take too many cooks to stir the
that's
pot, right?
that's the
Right.
other piece that I was just gonna say is
Yeah.
like the relationship that I have with my coaches and the
Mhm.
trust we have there is so important. Like, if you don't trust your coach, you don't really you won't get anywhere. And so trusting that whatever my coach says is the best thing for that moment, whether it is or isn't, like I have to
To
believe
trust
it.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't buy
So
in,
Right.
then you're not going to succeed. Like, you got to
Mhm.
buy into where, and if you're not buying in, then you'd have to consider making a change. Now, obviously, it's why you made one, because you wanted to buy in
Right.
to
Mhm.
what's going in now. So
So
that's
I'm
awesome.
sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Dave.
So, I mean, I think we're at a point now where I think there's just as much interest in the women's side of the Olympics and in track than there is with the men, which is
Ooh.
amazing that we're at that point now.
Absolutely.
How does that make you feel as a woman in the sport, knowing that you guys are getting more popular and that people are tuning in to watch you guys just as much as they are your men counterpart? Like, that has to be cool that you're part of this whole wonderful female movement. Like, hey guys, move over. We're here. People, like, you saw it with Caitlin Clark. More people watched
Mhm.
the women's tournament than they did the men for the first time ever. So I think
Mhm.
we're at this great place now in our country and in our culture where we're really starting to support women's athletics more.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I don't think the importance of it can be overstated, and as an athlete, especially as I've been in it for a long time, and eventually I won't be an athlete anymore. And I think that the most important thing that I could have done for this sport is help other athletes recognize that this is something that they can do, and to just continue to grow the sport. If there's a girl in high school right now who sees me compete and hears about the heptathlon, and they decide that they want to pursue that, or they want to pursue something in track because of me, like, that is the biggest honor I can possibly
Yeah,
think of.
absolutely.
And so just, I mean, I know that's been true in my journey. Like, I've always had athletes that I've looked up to that have inspired and continue to inspire me in my journey. And if I can just continue to pay that forward, like, that's how this continues to grow.
And there's got to be nothing
Yeah.
cooler than when you actually meet them and then they're also really cool people. Like,
Right.
that is always like the ultimate. And that's one of the things that I've enjoyed, and I think Dave's enjoyed too. Being able to talk to some of our icons, like we
Ah.
talked to Johnny Gray. We were both massive Johnny Gray fans, still
Yeah.
are. And it's like he was just such an awesome dude. And and I think too, like, the crazy thing, like, in the age of social media, you can kind of find out how good or terrible a person is real quick.
Right.
And that, like, it happens, right? Like, I think movie stars have suffered the most, right? Because before you
Mhm.
saw movie stars in these high esteems, and now you're finding out that they're people too. It's not a bad or a good thing. They're humans. They're not these
Mhm.
superheroes.
Yeah.
But I think there's nothing cooler than when you do meet somebody and they're your hero, and it's like, oh yeah, I picked a good one. They're awesome. Like, they're awesome in person too. So how has that been? Have you had any people that you've been able to meet at events that you were like, I looked up to you in college, high school, and now you're in the person and you're freaking awesome? Like,
Oh
have you
my
had
God.
any of those moments?
Yeah, of course. Of course. There's been a number. I mean, even just locally to me, in Santa Barbara, Barbara Nwaba was a heptathlete at UCSB. She won the Olympic trials in 2016 and represented the United States in the Olympics that year. And just the first time I got to meet her, it was like, oh my gosh, like you've done everything that I want to do in this sport. Like that's amazing. And then so it was kind of like a little bit starstruck.
And she
then,
probably knew your name, and you're like, why do you know my name? Like,
yeah. And then when my coach left after my sophomore year, and I was kind of like going through this big transition, she was like, hey, if you ever want to, get coffee and talk about it, like let me know. And I was just like,
right.
And then you go through the moment. It's like when you're trying to ask someone out on a date for the first time. It's like, do I hit send on this text? Is this actually okay? Did she mean it? Does she actually like?
Yeah.
So back to the like the fact that we are so women centric now, which is awesome.
Yes.
Do you think? And I know Alex asked this once. Do you think we'll ever see the point where the women compete in the decathlon, or do you think it'll just kind of stay where it is? And is that something that the athletes would want? Or like, no, like we are fine where we are. Don't give us more. We're still mastering this. Like, because do you think we'll ever get to that point, or are you glad that they're two separate events based on gender?
I do think we will get to that point. I do think that eventually it will just be the decathlon. I think that, it will, and I'm not even going to say that I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Right. I don't either. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah. I
would love to selfishly see it.
Yeah.
Because I just think they would be incredible saying, like, because like, you ever wonder, like, was that heptathlon put in place because at that time they didn't think women could compete and can do events? But now, now you see women pole vaulters going, 16 feet or whatever. Yeah. So it's, like just that sport alone, since women have done it, has evolved so much.
Yeah.
I think women could certainly do it.
Would that take certain women out of the training though? Because you are adding some different events. Would that take certain women that do the hep that don't have to do certain of these events and look at them and go, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, do you think that would not disqualify, but take some young ladies out of the mindset of looking at it going, I really don't want to run the 15. The 8 is my limit. Like,
I don't want to pole vault.
I don't want to pole vault. I don't want to do certain things. Like, do you think that would shift the field up?
I do. I think it would change the type of athlete.
And what about you personally?
So, yeah, I mean, I'll just take, I guess I can take me for an example. I don't know that I would be as good of a decathlete as I am heptathlete. I think the kind of athlete that it caters to would change. But again, maybe is a good thing. I think the decathlon, you don't have to be, the heptathlon requires you have to be fast and you have to be explosive. If you are not those two things, you will not succeed in the heptathlon. The decathlon, you can get away with being a really good thrower, and that means a little bit more kind of than it does in the heptathlon. But I do think that it, like, if we're talking about the heptathlon becoming the decathlon, it has to take a long time because this generation of heptathletes is not just going to transition to the decathlon.
And they shouldn't have to.
No, and so it
should be a trial thing, where they try it out.
Starts off at like the middle school, high school level, and like that group, like this freshman class will never do the hep; they'll only do the decathlon. So it's all they know, right? That'll be. I think it will be sad though to see some of these records go. Like I think that's the hard part, right, of ever transitioning, because you have so many amazing ladies that have done incredible things in the hep, and there's a standard there, and it is an individual standard. Like, yes,
there's history to it.
Man, it's so hard. It's still extremely difficult.
I am older than you guys by a decent amount, and
I wasn't going to bring it up this time.
One of my favorite athletes growing up and watching her compete in the multis was JJK. Jackie Kersey was because now and then she would go and say, oh, you know what? I feel like winning the Olympics in the long jump too.
She's
like she was unreal, but like she made me really want to watch. And then, she got me into Dan and Dave and that whole thing. And then obviously Ashton Eaton was just remarkable.
Ashton Eaton is at the end of our little intro video there. We had to show,
she was the one who myself, I would watch her and be like, wow, this woman is one of the most amazing athletes that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. I think I totally agree. And I think the heptathlon has two things really going for it in terms of its kind of argument to stay. One of those being, I think there's a level of precision that the heptathlon requires that the decathlon doesn't necessarily, that is really special and unique. So it's not just, oh, the hep is easier than the deck. I don't think so. I don't agree, because there is no room for error in the heptathlon. And so I think it has that going for it. And then number two, I think, is that if you look at, from college, high school, college, professional, heptathlon competitions versus decathlon competitions, even take the Olympics. Decks, no offense to them, drop like flies.
Yeah.
You started decathlon, I think it was my senior year at NCAAs. They take 24, right? 24 heptathletes, 24 decathletes. 24 decathletes started. I think 15 finished.
Wow.
24 heptathletes started, 24 heptathletes finished.
Okay.
And I think, maybe it speaks to women just being a little bit tougher than men. I'm not gonna,
Listen,
I'm not
man,
gonna go there.
Or the fact that men start all these projects and we don't ever finish one of them.
There's maybe that, but I think also
we get interrupted.
I just don't do it.
There's a lot more space to mess it up, right? Like pole vault in particular. I think discus, pole vault in particular.
Height,
you see more no heights and foul outs in discus and pole vault than in probably any other event in the entirety of the multi. And so for us to not have those, it really, no one wants to see.
There's such an emphasis on every other event.
Yeah, no one wants to see half the field drop out and only 25 guys start and 12 line up for the 15. Like, that's not
where I think would be fun would be to continue, have an experiment, have some meets that offer the female decathlon, right? And just see how it goes. And I imagine you multi-athletes, because
it's hard though, because they never practice pole vault, and that's an event that you need
but I feel like if
they're not going to take time to practice that when it's just for a trial.
I don't know. I feel like if we know it's offered at 4 or 5 meets a year, I feel like you'd have your multi girls. I'll be like, you know what? I'm aiming to jump well. I want to do well there.
I feel like it would take away from what their main goal is at the end.
It may, but it would be fun
because they have to focus on events that they don't need to for
there are definitely women who are doing that. Like, there are more female decathlons now than certainly there were 5 years ago. Jordan Gray is kind of spearheading that movement. She's a great heptathlete who has kind of spearheaded this kind of let women decathlon movement. And so they host a national championship and a world championship for the decathlon. It's not included in the USATF one, but they get a good number of people who turn out for it, and it's really cool. So I do think the transition is beginning. Again, how long it takes and whether it just becomes, okay, you have your option, you have your, you can pick the hep or the deck, or it just eventually is only the deck, is hard to say. But it is
interesting. So I have a little bit of a transition question. There's a lot going on now in this sport in terms of TV coverage and Michael Johnson, with Czech League. Has anybody talked about the decision that Diamond League made to leave NBC and go to FloTrack, which does cost more? So I know we have concerns that it's going to really hurt trying to get more casual fans because of its price point, and people know about Peacock. They might randomly fall upon it. You have to know that FloTrack's there. And I do think that it could really help because it will be track only, and they will do a lot of different stories on athletes, and they'll have some documentaries. But in terms of the actual coverage, have you heard any feedback, positive or negative, about the fact that all these huge meets are going to be on a higher priced platform and less people have that app downloaded?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a ton of specific conversations about it. I did see, a lot of stuff on X or Twitter or whatever, when the news broke. Twix. Most of what I saw, I would say fell in the negative category.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So
which I feel bad because like FloTrack is great for what it is, but as it's currently constructed, I don't know if they're ready to do a Diamond League meet. But you have to figure they have more money now. They're going to put money into their broadcast. So I'm going to hold out hope, and I'm going to wait to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the price point is an issue. People are not going to buy it who are casual fans.
Well, here's the thing too. I don't care about the production of the meat, to be quite honest. They just need to advertise. Like Flow Sports needs to pour a ton of money because, like we said, nobody knows outside of hardcore trackies that FloTrack exists. Like
wrestlers, because they have Flow Wrestling
or Flow. Well, they have Flow everything. If you look on the Flow Sports, they have Flow everything, and good for them. Yeah, they have Flow. They have Flow Cheer, Flow Dance, Flow. But if they're going to take on something like the Diamond League, which whether we like it or not is the premier track league right now, they should be pouring millions into advertising, and they should pour it all into there.
There should be billboards with athletes on it. FloTrack.
Yes, it has been their most successful. FloTrack has been their biggest moneymaker, I'd imagine. So it's like, give back to the people that are paying now, right? Start to put that out there and give back to the athletes that are now trusting you. And the league and the Diamond League, I can't imagine a Diamond League came to them lightly. Or NBC might have told Diamond League, hey, we don't want to support you anymore.
Apparently, they didn't even offer NBC. They said, go.
All right, then that just tells you that the track athletes aren't doing our part. But putting it behind a paywall, who the hell wants to pay to watch it? And it's not even like they're giving us everything. They're not giving us all, like, I mean, the worldview, but it's still kind of tedious.
Well, and there's just so many of these streaming services but streaming services that are hidden behind these paywalls, right? It's like you might have something on Runnerspace, you might have something on FloTrack, you might have something on Athletic
USATF.tv.
USATF.tv.
I know.
Like,
it's a mess.
Like I might pay for one, but I certainly can't pay for all of them, right? And so I think that, and
I'm just an idiot who would.
And to your point, well, I don't get paid for being a professional athlete, so I can't afford it.
I know.
Exactly. You can't, and that's insane.
I know, it's crazy.
You can't even go and watch your peers, right? Because I'd imagine you have friends that compete, but it's like, hey, send me your highlights.
I can't even watch myself. I can't even go back and watch my own meets if I don't pay for it.
Dave will clip your parts and text them to you from now on, or email you them so you can watch yourself whenever you get on TV. Like,
no, but I mean, but also, like this new thing with Michael Johnson, he wants to start a league here in the States. Like, it sounds like, I mean, he's Michael Johnson. He has cachet.
People get to deal with like Fox or something to put it on every week,
and he has a very good backing. So like, hopefully that can help with the travel, because
hopefully
we need more pro level, high level meets here.
Speaking of
can't just be Prefontaine. It has to, which is actually staying on NBC. It's the only meet that's staying on NBC.
Here, Dave. Speaking of that, how are you financing your track career, Hope? Tell the people what you have to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month to continue to train. Are you working a full-time job? Do you have any money coming in anywhere else? Do you have a sponsor that is helping you out? Where do you find the money? Where do you find the time to continue to try and be one of the best athletes on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, it is the best answer. Is that it's a complete hodgepodge of things here and there, right? I mean, thankfully, a couple of months ago, I was picked up by a sponsor, VS Athletics, which has been great, and so they're helping a lot with primarily like entry fees and travel and things like that, equipment. Awesome. So that's been huge. I'm super thankful to them. Promo code HOPE for 15% off on their website. But yeah, so thankfully, like endless thanks to VS Athletics for that. And then, I mean, I coach some kids on the side. I do like some speed lessons.
Is this
with
the correct
baseball.
Spot? Is this VS Athletics right here?
That's the one.
There we go. Go and give them. Go on VSathletics.com and go on there. It's all, it looks like all great track stuff. So
yeah, it's a track and field retailer.
I love it.
Primarily. So they've got great stuff, good prices.
So go over
But yeah,
there, support them
so
because they're supporting Hope.
yep,
Yes.
promo code Hope, 15% off.
Let's give Hope some hope and get her some more money.
And Dave's a dad. Dave
There
is
we
a
go.
dad. 100%.
Dad joke. Had to come out.
Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Hope. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I do some speed lessons with some younger kids. Like there's a 10U baseball team that I do some speed stuff with. So that's a little bit. I'm actually in the middle of an internship with a consulting firm that is all remote, which has been really cool, and I'm learning a ton. So that's been amazing, but working a little bit there.
But here's the thing, like you just had to list multiple things in order to be a professional athlete, which
and then
other sports don't have to do that.
All of my coaches love me and care about me, and they don't charge me, which is so sweet. You know, so it's just like I really have to, lean on a lot of different things and just lean on, the people who I've surrounded myself with who believe in me and want to see me succeed equally as much as I believe it and want it. So, like Texas State has been so welcoming. We've got actually a lot of post-collegiates who have come, that train at Texas State, which has been a really cool environment. So shout out to Coach Frazier for creating such a welcoming place for us.
Dave, we have to make a list of all these colleges that are welcome to post collegiates because they deserve shout outs and love as well. Because we've got a few that are sitting there and saying that they're welcome, and they are the lifeblood of our professional athletes. Continue.
Absolutely.
What I love too about this sport and this series that we've done is you could just see the passion. They're not doing this for money. It's all because of their want to fulfill their athletic dreams, and that means more to them. So they will sacrifice now. Shouldn't have to. That it's bullshit that you guys have to.
Absolutely nonsense.
The drive and the hunger that we've seen in this series has been absolutely amazing.
This is the part where Dave and I just get pissed. Like every episode, when we're talking about this, we just get physically angry, right? Because and I think one of the reasons why, I don't know if it's for me, probably for Dave, our dream was to be where you are.
Yeah.
Both of our dream was to be professional runners.
We just weren't even close to being as good.
We
enough.
sucked, but it was our dream was to be professional runners.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then to see you guys are at the level we wanted to be, and it's like, well, shit. Why are they not?
It's like I'm better off financially now that I didn't make it that far, which is crazy.
Absolutely insane. And it's embarrassing.
It is
the sport that you are the sixth athlete in this series, and it's like you're not well off. Like there's no reason why pros in a sport should not be at least not worrying about when are they going to eat, what job do they have to do to fit into training, and it's just such a ridiculous life that you guys lead. It really is.
How about not have a job? How about their job be to train and represent our country at the highest level?
Absolutely.
Half the time I feel like I'm choosing between the Olympics and my credit score.
Credit card companies, if you're listening, forgive her.
You can only have one.
Well, hopefully you get to the Olympics, you get a major sponsor, and we can go and make sure you can just like big purchase paid off, get that credit back, so we can get you a good mortgage rate in the future. Like that's what we need to do here. Now we're giving you like old man counseling at this point. This is what you want to do with your money. But so I do want to mention quickly again the Give Send Go, and I'm going to share the screen here. We talked about it. This is what the series is. The trackstar.me. Olympic Dreams, Give Send Go, this crowdfunding. There is hope there hanging out. Please, if you can, go spare any sort of money. $5, $10, $50, it doesn't matter. If you watched any bit of this series, if you're seeing right now, we've had on, Derek is coming on next week, but we've had on all these individuals, Capers, Matt right there, Justin, Tanner, Elena, and we're getting to know all of you. And it's like, it's something, there you are again, Hope. There's Derek. Like, we just need to make sure that you guys and girls do not have to go through this ever again. Like, by the time that we are within 2 years of the next Worlds are coming up here, I don't care. I don't want to have to see this anymore. We should not have to crowdfund in order for our professional athletes to get places. Your sponsors should be going, hey, you know that $10,000 we give you a month, some of it's going towards travel. And you should go, man, I need to negotiate out travel funds with you next time because I want all 10K out of, like, there should be no reason why you individuals are not at least making in the hundreds of thousands a year.
What do you guys think about the what do you guys think about the new thing that if you win an Olympic gold medal, you get 50K?
Yeah, that's something.
It's good. I mean,
they're
now
starting what you're getting.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing is it's going to start small, right? But like someone has to start. Someone this, we might not get to the point where like this ever is a actual reality for me, right? Like I might age out of this sport before like we really see this, but it has to start somewhere. So that again, that little girl that I met who's in high school right now, who becomes the next Anna Hall, well, I think she's doing fine, but
you know, the next girl that becomes the next Hope Fender does not have to sit there and be one of the top in the planet and not like, because the reality is you are one of the top athletes in the world. Like, and it's a very select group. Like, people need to realize how many individuals participate in track and field athletics. If you're top 100, top 50, you're one of the select best in the world. And so it's like when you're reaching that echelon, I mean, pro football players on practice squads make like $200,000 a year.
And what Noah Lyles said, it's the world. It's not just here in America. It's the world. You guys bring us the people in the whole world. So
yes, this is where we get aggressive and angry. It's all about this stuff. So what is your life like balancing work, training, travel, doing competitions, funding everything, worrying about, you know, trying to keep your nutrition up properly as a world-class athlete, trying to worry about how you're going to pay for things when you get to these competitions because your hotels aren't covered, your food isn't covered, you're paying for, you know, your coaches to come with you, probably, you know, how are you, what is your life like on a day-to-day when you're trying to balance all these things?
You know, every day is different. It is a lot of bouncing around. I mean, you know, today, for example, I went over to Texas State in the morning, kind of chatted about the week with my coach, practiced from 11 to 1, and then lifted from basically 1 to 2:30. I sprinted home. I jumped on meetings from 3 to 5:30 for my internship, and then I made dinner, and you know, and it very much is. I can't look at it too much at a time, right? It's
every day is different.
It is one foot in front of the other, you know, and I just have to, I would say, continue to trust that, you know, this is worth it. And there's nothing else I'd rather be doing right now. Like, you know, I'm sure you've heard this, you know, 100 times now. Like, this sport is the most important thing in the world to me right now. Like, there is nothing I would rather be doing than this, even when it's hard and even when it means that I'm, you know, sacrificing in terms of whether it's finances or relationships or what I do on the weekends or, you know, career, you know, pathways. It's all worth it whether or not I make the Olympics, because just the joy that I get out of showing up at practice every day and competing every day, or, you know, competing and proving to myself that there's still more there after I wasn't sure for so long. That's worth more than anything to me right now. And so, you know, it is, some days are more overwhelming than others, but at the end of the day, like, I get to do what I love.
And you won't have any regrets. Like, if I just would have said, like, what would have been? You're going to play it out and you're going to know. And that's something that I think a lot of people can't say.
Yeah.
You know, that's beautiful. Like, you're following your dream.
Olympic dreams.
Right. And you're right there to have a chance, you know, because of all of the sacrifices and the hard work that you made. We just want to see you guys be able to just be an athlete Like literally just be an athlete, not have to worry about all this other nonsense. Just
Yeah.
be an athlete.
I was talking to someone at my job today, and I genuinely said, Dave and I, would it be nice if this eventually blows up into a huge podcast? Dave and I never have to work again. Fine, cool. But if we could sit there and if I never make a dime, but we reach our goal of making sure that you pros get paid, I would be happy that I did.
100%.
That's the goal here. It's not, yes, Dave and I love talking about track, but we found that just talking about track for the first like 3 episodes, we're like, kind of boring on our part. We love it, but who's going to listen to that? And then once we started talking to individuals and getting your stories and things like that, that's when it became so much more interesting and real. And I think the mission kind of changed.
That's where I'm hoping FloTrack can help, because I think they're going to do a good job with their documentaries and their stories. I really think, and I also heard that they might put some of those things out there free to draw people in, so that people will get attention to the athletes.
So what would be smart for FloTrack, and here, you don't have to take my advice. I'm just an idiot with the podcast, right? Make the meets free. Make the meets free, and then give some specialty things that if you're a subscriber here, we are going to put a microphone on Hope Bender during her 200. And so she's going to now, as she warms up, you're hearing her. And then as he goes, you're going to hear her grunt and sprint, and you get specialized things.
Right.
But you get, here's a special.
Absolutely.
The meet is free, but here's extra access.
FloTrack just can't raise the price. They can't say, oh, well, we have Diamond League now, so we're going to raise it.
But I feel like you make the meets free, and then you do specialty things in between. Will you agree with the athletes?
At least at first to get interest, and then worry about
Hope if FloTrack came to you and was like, hey, we want to mic you up, we're going to put a camera in your face for your, I don't know, whatever you do, like whatever in one of the events, would you say no? You'd be like, hell yeah, throw it up there. Like, I want to be seen. Like, that helps you and it helps them. But I feel like you make the meets free, but hey, you're paying for this. Here's this extra interview. Here's this post race that we didn't give. Here's this where they do all of these. You get them on FloTrack anyway, these behind the scenes where they're always interviewing. They throw it on Twix. Instead of that, you get it first as a subscriber. You get it, and then tomorrow or the next day, the non-subscribers get it.
Right.
It's something really.
I want to hear what the actual plan is. I mean, it's all new, but I mean, I do. There are certain aspects of it that I like. I just don't see how it's going to help raise the viewership.
For me,
how do we grow? How do we grow from there?
You make the meets free. You make a deal, whatever. You could stream here and there, whatever. You make the meets free, and then you offer access that only subscribers will get on the day of. And I think that's the best way to do it. Where you sit there and you have like, okay, but that would be that's because they're dumb at business. Right. That's why, because they're stupid at business. And I'm going to say it right now. I hope anyone from Flow is listening. And if you're offended and I just said you're bad at business and you're successful, you will blow up significantly more if you do what I say. Where they have sitting there, hey, here is Clayton Murphy getting ready for his 800, but you can have a Q&A with him. Send it in on Twitter, and we'll select yours, and Clayton will answer in real time. Those types of things are massive, and that would drive it where you'd want to have access. Now I want to pay for FloTrack because Hope Bender is my favorite heptathlete, and I want to ask her a question, and this is my only chance. Or I'll never see her to meet.
Or have fun things like, hey, have random people come up and try to beat someone, a pro in the jab, or, or just like have fun things where you incorporate regular everyday citizens and they become part of it, and that will help grow and be like, oh wow, track is really cool, like I had this, and do a good job. Maybe have a series of explaining things in layman's terms.
I just think that it would be like, again, I'll reiterate, make the meets free and then offer access during the meets. Offer exclusive access during the meets. Well, they don't want to be successful then, because you're going to lose Diamond League if that's what you don't. They will lose Diamond League within a few years if they don't provide numbers. Because Diamond League's not going to stay with them. They're the premier track company. They're going to go somewhere else, which is going to give them better numbers. And I'm sorry, if FloTrack stays and keeps them behind a paywall, they're not going to pull those numbers. There's not enough people that pay for FloTrack to justify Diamond League staying there.
Right. Well, I mean,
and I'm sorry, that's just me on this show. I don't care if I ruffle feathers.
I really like FloTrack. I think
they're great.
They do a great job at what they are doing now. I think they're going to need to obviously step it up to run Diamond League meets, because that's a whole different type of. You're not talking about you're on some high school track with with people running. So it's going to be interesting. I just think the fact that there's news out there and that we're talking about it. Hopefully that'll help spark some interest too. You know.
Hope, what is your opinion, real quick? You're our guest as I'm ranting. What's your opinion on it, real quick, and then we'll wrap up soon. I don't want to keep you for too long. So, what is your opinion on FloTrack and everything getting Diamond League?
Again, I think I agree with you. I think if they do it correctly, I don't know that it's a negative. I think, to Dave's point from earlier, I think it kind of limits the number of casual viewers who might happen upon it and be like, oh, they click to the channel as the 100's going off and they're like, wow, that was great. And then they watch the rest of the meet. I think that it eliminates the potential for that, because you're only going to get people who are specifically looking to watch the meet.
Yep.
Right? You're not going to have someone just happen upon it and be like, oh, yay, track, how cool.
But that was the same when it was on Peacock too, like, because you have to go into the sports section in the track and field. You're not just like, like,
it wasn't even on the front.
The days of like channel surfing are like, people just don't like there's so many different services that people are on a certain app. Like, people aren't just literally going channel up and anymore and just happen to find upon it. So, but I think it's definitely advertising too. I mean, I think
it's
right.
I think advertising is going to be the big distinguishing factor here. I think advertising and hopefully maybe lowering the price point, right? I think it's a little bit ridiculous that like there's kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's just a flat fee. Like, you either subscribe or you don't.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's like, well, why not just have people, pay $3 to watch a Diamond League meet?
Or meets only. Have a meets only subscription. Like, I only want to watch meets.
Right.
So I'm not going to pay your full.
Or like, can I pay less if I just get track? I don't need all the 27 other sports.
Yeah.
Like, can I pay less if I just want one specific sport?
Or a la carte. Like, I want to only watch this meet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
like $3 per meet or something.
I stand by keeping it free, damn it.
I understand that.
I'm with you. But if not, I think, just having that, like, you can pay $30 a month or you get nothing.
Yeah, which is insane.
Have different tiers for different things. Hey,
have tiers.
You can have our unlimited $30 a month, have everything, or you could just do track, or you just want to watch one meet. You can pay to just watch this.
Yeah.
One meet.
Yeah. So there's got to be a thing in there. They're business people. And I know you'll ask them and they'll say the subscription model is the only reason why they could do what they do. And I get that. You need money, but there comes a point where you got to start making business decisions that get outside of our sphere to create new fans. And that's one of the best ways to do it. So last thing I want to do with you, Hope, is there anything that you want the people listening right now to know about you that we haven't talked about yet? I feel like you kind of spill your heart out here. You've done, this has been so much fun talking to you.
Wonderful.
But is there anything else that you want everybody to know about you? And kind of why we should support your goal here?
Oh gosh.
Not putting you on the spot at all. Not putting you on the spot.
I mean, I think we've covered a lot of it, but I mean, I think just at the end of the day, like, I'm just so thankful to the people who have supported me to get me this far. That's my coaches, Kendall Gustafson at Texas State. I've got Coach Grayhorn out at Mississippi State. I've got my strength coach who I've mentioned, others who are helping me, like my family, like all of that. Like, I'm just so thankful to those people who have gotten me here. And I think a big driving factor for me is I didn't get this far to just get this far, And so it's like you said, like, I don't want to leave this sport with regrets or giving anything less than my best.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm super stoked and super thankful to get to be on this journey, whatever it looks like, wherever it ends up. And yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I've had such a blast. I love talking about track. So it's been great. But yeah.
Ready, Alex?
I'm ready.
Alex? I hope you have a wonderful rest of your season.
Thank you.
I'm usually the dad joke guy, but Dave is taking it from me. I love it.
Oh, God.
Hopefully I'll see you guys at the Olympic trials in June. maybe.
I mean, we'll lucky. We listen. You think you don't make any money off a track? We make
Oh, it's
zero off this thing. But
fair.
if we did, we would love to
Listen,
be there. And one of the
it is a
one of the
bucket
things-
list of
get on
mine
out
to
there.
go.
Yeah, we would
But
love-
I might have to wait till it's at a freaking Eugene. It's too much.
Yeah,
money.
that's fair. Yeah.
It's too much-
I booked an Airbnb the day they released the dates of the trials, not the schedule,
Right.
just the dates. I think within 30 minutes I had gone into Airbnb and just booked something because I'm like, this is going to go
Oh, it's gonna go up tenfold
so
it's going to
fast.
be insane.
The first person rejected my request
because
he said, "Oh, I haven't adjusted my prices yet."
Oh,
Rejected it and was like, "Oh, now you can go back and book." It was more than double
right.
what it was for originally, and then
Slumlords.
the next one I booked ended up
so
working out.
next plan is like you
But-
book like a week and then you just cancel down.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, and then it's like you're like, no, you have to say that you're going to keep me at this rate. Go away.
Yeah. No, that's what I did with the one that I got. I booked for all like 10 or 11 days of
Yeah.
the trials, and then I just cut it down to the first 5 or whatever.
But Hope, thank you so much.
This
for
has been
coming on.
wonderful.
This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have anything before we get out of here?
No, I mean, like I'm kind of bummed that we're going to be coming to an end of this series soon.
Yes.
Every athlete has been, absolutely wonderful. Their drive and their goal orientation is absolutely amazing, and I just love watching and talking to all you guys. And I cannot wait to watch this year's trials because I have so many new people that I'm going to be rooting for, and it's nice to like not always know all the like the people who are expected to win, but to know those people that are fighting and clawing and and just going for everything. I hope every single one of them gets to represent us in Paris.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you again just for the work that you're doing, bringing visibility, not just to the top, 1.1%, but to
I literally went to work at like 6:30 this morning, got home from a track meet at like 8:45. It's like, I gotta hop on. I didn't even shower yet, but we love doing what we do because we want to give you guys the chance to, nobody cares about us. We don't care about us. It's about you guys.
No, we don't. So once again, I had a blast. Hope. Thank you so much for coming on. This is Talking in Ovals. Go find us on the socials. Go search at Talking in Ovals. We are at the quest to get at least 50 subs right now on YouTube. So if you're watching this right now, if you're on X, go switch over to YouTube. Go find us there. Go subscribe.
Remember, we are live now, guys. You don't just have to wait for the audio to come out. We actually are live for about a month now. So
we are live. So yeah, go subscribe over there on YouTube. If you are watching on X and you haven't followed yet, go follow us there. Our quest there is for 1,500. So we're trying to get there. We appreciate everyone that has come on the show so far. We appreciate all the athletes for the Trackstar.me Olympic Dream Series coming on.
Thank you to Kirk.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk Berridge. You're fantastic.
Thank you, Kirk.
You're doing wonderful things for the sport as well with Trackstar.me. So we love it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Those who are going to listen to the podcast. And last quick thing, sponsors. We said it again. I'll say it every week. We would love to take on sponsors, but we have a steadfast rule. We will not take on any sponsors unless you agree to sponsor one of our unsponsored guests in the past. So, we want to make sure that all of our athletes at least have some sponsorship money. So that is our big thing. So if you're going to sponsor us, great. We want that, but you got to agree to sponsor another one of our guests that don't have one. So that is our quest. And, if we get someone who wants to throw $1 million at us, go throw $1 million at somebody else. That's our goal. So once again,
or throw a million at them and at us.
That's what I'm saying. Do both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both.
So once again, Talking in Ovals. We'll be back next week, same time, 9:00 p.m. on Monday nights. So long, everybody.